Hello, welcome to the future today. My name is Cree Lawson. I've started 3 successful companies. I've been a nationally recognized investigative reporter, and I am focused on the future. I've learned a few things, and I'd like to share with those with you today. So this is episode 1. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to episode 1. The future is, as we focus on it, is going to revolve around people, technology, input, and output. These are the 4 factors at play that will determine what our future looks like. Changes in people, changes in technology, changes in input, changes in output. Now, that's at a really high level. There are fascinating stories underneath each one of these elements. So let's jump into that. Today, we're going to go into something about people, population growth through 2050. Interesting insights. The world is changing. So we're going to talk about the international aspects of that. Technology, yeah, that changes a little bit too. What's happening at airports? That's what we're going to focus on today. Consumption, what's world food demand going to look like in 2050? And production, coffee. Is that something to keep you up all night? The future of coffee is fascinating, and we're just going to dive right in. Today's episode is brought to you by Constraint. You thought I was going to show an ad there. Nope. First episode, not showing an ad. Constraint is one of the key factors, key determinants in the future, at least from 2023, where we are now, to 2050. I want to look out there far into the future where things can be, if we're right, they can be incredibly impactful. If they're wrong, they can be funny. So let's dig right in. Let's talk about the future today. First, people. So, biggest nations in the world gonna get shaken up. Emerging markets will continue to dominate the world, but look at India, the big flippening. India is going to beat out be the number 2 largest country in the world. Look at Indonesia, will be 4th by 2050. The US will be 3rd. India, as we mentioned, rising. Japan will fall all the way from 4th to 8th. Germany from 5th to 9th. Russia, staying about the same. Brazil will rise up 1. Indonesia is the big winner here, though, from 8th to 4th. And the UK will stay about the same. France, sorry, guys, you fall off the map, fall off the top 10. So as you think about which countries are going to be dominating the world, these are important things to note. Now, there are some big outlier movers. This is where the greatest consumption in 2050 is going to come from. These are going to be your biggest markets to market anything in 2050. This is where change is happening. Change creates opportunity. Change also creates instability. But some of these countries, very few countries are growing at these kind of rates. And so you see 5% annual growth in Vietnam. Spoiler alert, Vietnam's going to come up later in the episode. Philippines, up to 19th by 2020, but that's massive growth as well. And then Nigeria is rising as well. Now, to put this in context, here in the U.S., we're dropping. Every decade our population is dropping. So the average American has 1.8 kids. Don't ask me what 0.8 of a kid looks like. I don't know what that is. But the point being is that fewer and fewer people are having enough children just to replace the population that we have. So that when we see countries like with GDP growth, like Vietnam, Philippines, and Nigeria, that means they're going to be powerhouses for consumption, not for labor force, for consumption. Got that wrong before. So more of the future today. US and Europe are slowly going to lose ground as far as GDP growth, as far as people growth, productivity out of the US and Europe, the Western world. That's why you hear so much about BRICS. Brazil, Russia, India, China, and now South Africa. They are coming together. They are meeting as we speak. They are trying to challenge Western dominance, if not United States dominance in public policy. So the BRICS may come up with their own currency. The BRICS currency may be backed by gold. Now we're stepping out on the ledge of conspiracy theorists. But the point is, BRICS, places like Nigeria, places like Vietnam, those places have the growth, they have the GDP, and they have an increasing amount of power. So they will no longer be the new world order of the Bush years if these trends continue through 2050. So this is going to be an impact as well. So in 1995, G7 were half the size. In 2015, they were about the same size. And by 2040, the E7, China, India, Indonesia, Brazil, Russia, Mexico, and Turkey will be double the size of the 7 industrialized nations. That's pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy. Going the E7, let's call them BRICS. I know I'm leaving the BRICS. I've gone from half the size of the industrial nations in 1995. And in our lifetime, in 2040, I think I'll make it there. In 2040, these fast-growing smaller countries will be double the size of the industrialized nations. So forget about the New World Order, forget about United States dominance, forget about Western ideology prevailing over everything. We're going to have to accommodate for the needs of countries that are bigger than ours, that are growing faster than ours, and have more resources at their disposal. So this all comes from PricewaterhouseCoopers study. Now for something completely different. The future today focus on airports. So I'm going to skip all the way to 2050 from this Oliver Wyman report. Very interesting report. And the focus here is net zero carbon emissions for airports. A big thing for airports. A lot of fossil fuels consumed there, and they're becoming energy hubs and energy producers. So achieving net zero, according to Oliver Wyman, is really important. Let's talk about what matters to us. A contactless experience. Going to the airport without touching anything, right? Also, international identification. All this time you spend with visas and paperwork, they want that to go away. Amen. I'm all for it. It looks like intermodal connectivity, right? So that is get from the airport to the city faster is what that means. So amen to that. I am all over it. Of course, a changing workforce. Have you ever looked at what people do at airports? Not always a job anybody would want to do. You're going to see a lot of automation of things like cleaning the bathroom. You're going to see automation of luggage. You're going to see automation of all kinds of stuff that people just don't want to do in today's age. So I'm thinking you might have a highly robotic airport in the future with lots of contactless screening, lots of IDs being checked without touching anyone, lots of transactions happening without talking to anyone. And of course, the thing that I love to see is passenger experience revolution, zero queue airport terminals and walk through remote processing. Think about that. Think about walking straight into the airport and getting what you need done. I love this version of the future. I hope airports are subscribing to this. I hope Oliver Wyman is right. But imagine a robotic airport where nobody waits in line. Unfortunately, few people talk to each other and everything goes seamlessly and you can get to your plane and with very few emissions. And all that will work until a thunderstorm happens. We'll see. That's where airports are tested. Weather always tests airports. But this is an exciting future I'm happy to talk about. On the not so exciting side of the future, food. What's happening with food? Well, this is a very dense report with a lot of great data put together by the DNI of the Gov, and meat demand is skyrocketing. Sugar demand is skyrocketing. That's the headline here. Milk and dairy increasing. Vegetable oils and seeds are increasing, and cereals are the foundation. So some of this report goes on to speculate that the price of meat, if you thought you were paying $18 a pound, $28 a pound, like I pay at the supermarket today. That's only going up. Meat becomes much more of a delicacy. This is through the constraint of global warming, constraints on our ability to produce foods, and a rapidly changing, call it global warming, call it climate change, call it whatever you want. Temperatures are changing and more natural disasters are happening. And that just makes it hard to grow produce and livestock. So meat has more demand, less supply, prices go up. Sugar is going up as well. Cereals are where you want to be. The rest of the world lives on cereals. This is a consistent, steady Eddie marketplace. It's where you want to be if you want some stability. So you won't have to get rid of your Wheaties in 2050. They'll still be there. They'll be the same price. They might even be a little bit cheaper. But watch out for that meat. All right, today, this is the most shocking of all. Last segment, we're going to talk about my favorite, coffee. Coffee. What is happening in the world of coffee? What's coffee going to look like in 2050? Well, in 2050, coffee may be gone. Could coffee disappear by 2050? According to Fair Trade Ireland, coffee could disappear from shelves by 2050. The Irish charity sources ethically labeled products that benefit farmers in third world countries. Now, they might have a bit of an agenda in saying this. Maybe they want more coffee to be produced by their farmers, but there's truth to this. Somebody will come up with some kind of synthetic coffee. This stuff is just too good and too many people rely on it. But if we don't do something, if the world doesn't change, if current changes continue, it's going to cost a lot less for your plain old Joe. You may remember the Lego movie where he tries to pay for a cup of coffee and he says $38. Awesome. Well, everything is not awesome if coffee costs $38 a cup. And I think we'll find some way to deal with this. But the fact of the matter is it could go away. Why? So let's get, without diving into a 50-page report, let's get into it. Why could coffee be completely different? Well, in less than 30 years, the world of coffee could look completely different because regions suitable for coffee production could shrink by 54 to 60% by 2050. Why is that? Changing temperature, climate change, and you got geopolitical issues in a lot of these countries. Look, it's just getting harder and harder to get the beans, and coffee only grows within certain elevations. It's a really difficult thing. It's a really difficult product to grow. If you want to learn more about it, I recommend the TV series Dangerous Grounds. It's a really amazing series about coffee, but here's the reason. Suitable ground may be shrinking. Let's drill down on that. It just sounds, I'm talking all vagaries. Let's make this real. Look what's happening in Vietnam. We talked about it. One of the fastest growing GDPs in the world, and will be one of the fastest growing GDPs through 2050. Here they are today. Green. Green is good. It's not hard to figure out. It's green and blue. Basically, this whole country today looks like 70-80% of it's suitable for growing coffee. Now, change in suitability down here, everything is going to be less suitable. Certain regions here on the tip will be more suitable for a brief period of time, but basically, the coffee product coming out of Vietnam is going to be degraded significantly. So if you love coffee, probably not the best place to move. But who am I kidding? This is a global economy. Vietnam's exporting this coffee all over the world. So that could make your cup of coffee more expensive, most likely, or maybe even, according to some people, go away. So that's a case study for Vietnam. That's a wrap. That's the future today. I've enjoyed speaking to you. I hope you found this useful. And I hope if you found this helpful, like and subscribe so we can all do this again. Thank you very much.